It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley are here. We'll talk about more about Windows 8, of course, the latest Windows 8 SKUs, Windows Phone 7, the new Nokia Lumia 900, and yes, news about Office 15. It's all next on Windows Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, episode 254, recorded March 30th, 2012. The Spew. Windows Weekly is brought to you by CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X6, introducing the most powerful version yet of the only professional graphics suite made exclusively for Windows. For a free trial, plus an exclusive limited-time offer, go to Corel.com/WindowsWeekly and use the offer code TWiTX6. And by GoToMyPC. GoToMyPC apps are the missing link for remote access to turn your iPad and iPhone into your office computer. Visit GoToMyPC.com for your free 30-day trial. Use the offer code WINDOWS. It's time for Windows Weekly, a chance to look at Microsoft in all its amazing glory. And joining us are the glorious Paul Thurrott of the SuperSite for Windows, WinSuperSite.com, and Mary Jo Foley of allaboutmicrosoft.com on ZDNet. Hello, you two.
Hello.
We're doing this on Friday because of travel days. Paul, yes. You were in, where, Vegas?
Las Vegas, yep.
That's in Nevada, for those of you keeping track. And you were there for a Microsoft event called Connections.
Actually, it's a Penton event.
Oh, it's a Penton event about Microsoft.
Yep.
Because you're an analyst for Penton Media.
Right.
Righto. And Mary Jo is actually in Seattle.
I am.
Are you at Microsoft?
No.
Oh.
I'm in a secret bunker in an undisclosed location.
But I'm guessing it's a school or some kind. There's a pencil sharpener, a manual pencil sharpener right behind you.
You'll have to guess. And there's a beer mug holding water.
You're in a brew pub that likes to use pencils. Well, I don't know. It's very strange. So what brings you to Seattle? Are you there for briefings?
Yep, I'm here for meetings, and next week I'm going to be covering the Lang.Next conference, which is Microsoft's big programming language conference.
Oh.
So it'll be really interesting. Lots of people from also companies other than Microsoft too, but 3 days of programming language.
That's
fun.
Exciting. And this is for programming language designers. This is not for people who use programming languages as much as it is for people who make I would love to go to this.
Knew you would.
Oh, how geeky can you get?
It is. It's about the geekiest you can get, but there's going to be some cool Windows 8 stuff there around WinRT, so who knows? Maybe there'll be a little tidbit or two for us.
Are you a computer language junkie?
No.
I am.
As much as I can be being a mere journalist, right?
You're a mere journalist. You know nothing. That's how programmers think just like that. They go,
They do.
You know nothing. If you do not speak Perl, you know nothing of my work. You do not speak C++, C#, Perl, or Python, I can't speak to you. I am a programming language junkie. I used to, when I was young, as a hobby, I liked to write software, but nothing great, nothing good. But I collect programming languages. This would be so much fun to go to.
Yeah, you would love this.
Give you my copy of MASM 5.1.
I have MASM, my friend. I've had MASMs many times in my. MASM is Microsoft's assembler, and actually, I like assembly language. And Gibson does too. I don't know if he uses MASM. I'm trying to remember what he uses. I don't think it's MASM. Anyway, that sounds like fun. So we'll have a report on languages next week.
Yes.
That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for that event. And we'll be back to our normal time, Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern next week. But this week we thought we'd do it on Friday to give Mary Jo a chance to get where she was going, to Paul Thurrott to get back from where he was going, and for both of us to spend time deciphering the AT&T website We're going to let Paul continue to do that for a while.
I finished.
And if you come to a conclusion, the mystery that is the Lumia 900. Before we do that, though, good news for Office junkies. We have a date, and I wonder if this date then means something about Windows 8.
Right. I think a lot of people expected Office to happen after Windows 8.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. But now we're saying Office 15 Wave will launch in November. What is that?
This is the plan right now. There's a wave of products that make up Office 15. It's not just the suite of applications. It's also the next version of Exchange, SharePoint, Link, Office 365, Office web applications. There are various mobile apps that are going to be associated with this release. There's all kinds of stuff going on. So for the first time ever, what Microsoft would like to accomplish, and this remains to be seen whether they can do this, but the plan for now is to try and to ship all of this stuff simultaneously or as close to simultaneous as possible. In the past, there have been some kind of scattered releases where, Exchange, I don't know if it was 2010 came out, but the Outlook client wasn't out for a few weeks or even a few months until later, and so you couldn't take advantage of all the features unless you had both. And so with this version, what they'd like to do is to ship everything simultaneously. The plan B, if that can't happen, is for them to stagger those releases as appropriate. But right now, internally, what I was told by a friend from Microsoft, that the current date is for that to happen in November.
So if you're saying this wouldn't necessarily say anything about Windows 8 because we expect Office 15 to come out after Windows 8, not simultaneously with Windows 8.
Well, I think it says a little bit about Windows 8 if you accept the fact or the rumor that Microsoft would want to ship Windows 8 before Office, which I think is reasonable.
Yeah.
That suggests Windows 8 before November.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Good. Right. No later than November.
Right. The word launch, though, is kind of a tricky word, right?
Yes.
When Microsoft launches something, it doesn't mean it actually has RTM'd. They could launch this in November, and then it could RTM after that, or it could RTM before that. Because what I had heard before Paul heard this week is my sources were saying Microsoft was trying to RTM Office 15 in November. So, the new rumored launch date from Bloomberg a couple of weeks ago for Windows 8 was October. So, they could technically launch Office 15 and then finish it a month later. So we don't really know what launch means in this case.
Right. This could be an announcement.
Could be an announcement.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, and we don't even know, are they going to launch these two products together? Because, they've given some hints about Windows on ARM tablets coming with Office, whatever that means. So does that mean Office has to be finished to come with it or not? We don't. There's a lot of still we don't knows, as we always like to say on the show.
Can I, as a lowly iPad user, ask if we've given up now on Office on the iPad? Was that just completely spurious, or might this also include that?
I don't think. I
don't know about.
up.
No.
What, you don't think it's coming out?
No,
I do.
So I don't know. Oh, you do. I don't know
does.
about the full Office, but I do too. Actually, eventually, but I heard very specifically Outlook for the iPad, and not just for the iPad,
really?
but for other mobile devices, but iPad specifically. And
what?
This now I can sort of speculate a little bit here because we know that various Office apps are going to ship on WOA, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote. And of course, it's curious that Outlook wouldn't be part of that. And I guess the reason, you might argue that the reason is, well, there's a mail app that is Exchange Active Sync, and separately, of course, there's a People app and there's a Calendar app, and that those things together provide, some of the functionality of Outlook. But my understanding is that there's an effort undergoing to deliver the Outlook mobile app stuff ahead of anything else for Office. But I don't have a lot of details about that. But Outlook was very specifically mentioned on the iPad.
I'm trying to wrap my brain around that because of all the apps that I would want on the iPad, an email app is the last one that I would get. Oh, hey, great, a new email, because it comes with an email app.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Excuse me one moment. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I hear
go.
voices.
Okay, we're gonna watch as Paul wanders away. Now it's just for years I've been waiting for this. It's just you and me, Mary Jo.
Good. Let's make up some rumors.
And then, Paul, it's, I guess what I do hear this a lot, and from even not just business users, but regular users. How does it work with Outlook? How will it work without if you're a Windows user and you are an Outlook, which means almost always you're an Outlook email user, and you want a mobile device, that is almost always the real question is, well, how is this going to work with my Outlook? And so the built-in mail apps on Android and iOS maybe aren't the best choice for somebody who's a Windows Outlook user. Is that the reasoning? Is it a business thing? Oh, Paul's back. Never mind.
I don't know. You know, when we've seen the leaks about Office for the iPad, they've never mentioned Outlook. You know, they've been Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote. But I don't know. I guess some people, especially if they're trying to win over enterprises, you know, they could say, "Hey, what if we gave you Outlook? Would that make it more interesting to use the iPad?" Office
I mean, it's not. If they said Exchange, I could see that, but Exchange is included in iOS. It's included in Android. Everything supports Exchange now, so it's not. It's not just Exchange, but I guess there are Outlook features or Outlook services that would sync better. I mean, Outlook. The premise of Outlook was email, calendar, and contacts all in one app.
Yeah, and tasks.
And tasks.
And there's some deep integration bits in there as well with other Microsoft services. But you know, even the basic mail app that's in Windows 8 has a pretty surprising enterprise feature where you configure it for an Exchange account, and if it doesn't meet the password policy requirements of your workplace, it actually throws up it's a notification because it's a full screen environment, but it says that, and it says if you would like to reconfigure your machine to meet those requirements, you know, click here, and then you can do it. That's unusual. Kind of amazing.
Yeah.
So there's enterprise people who would like to have this kind of capability, I guess, for them.
Yeah, I mean, some companies want to have one email standard throughout the company, whatever you're running, right? So that would make sense for them, I guess.
And that's why you do Office for the iPad. You do it for the enterprise. You wouldn't do it for home users.
But I hear you. I mean, what you want on the iPad is Word, Excel.
Word and Excel, and PowerPoint would be great too,
Sure. Yep.
Especially if,
it would be great for a lot of people because seriously, you know, you can say what you want about Keynote. Keynote's not really the point. The point is you're in an office, you're at home, and you're working on the presentation on your computer, and then you want to put it onto your iPad and travel with that, and then use its capability, you know, its HDMI or whatever connection, VGA connection, to put it up on a projector of some kind. You know, I realize Keynote is great. That's not the point. The point is that PowerPoint is still the corporate standard, and if that's what you're using back at the office, that's what you want to be able to broadcast when you go out.
Well, and it's a standard in a lot of places. Even though I do all my presentations in Keynote, frequently people want a PowerPoint version of it, or you know, you go somewhere. You know, even when you do Ignite, you know, those Ignite speeches that O'Reilly does, and you'd figure this is the earthy, crunchy crowd. These people probably want a Linux Open Office version. No. They say convert it to PowerPoint slides because everybody's going to use PowerPoint. It's the lingua franca of presentations. So.
I am writing Windows 8 secrets in Linux, so I completely understand that process.
No, you're not. No, you are not. You are not. Just tell me. That's a joke. It's April Fool's is Sunday.
It's ridiculous, Leo.
Hey, you know, just a little side tangent because we're doing a TWiT on April Fool's Day, and I actually, while I like pranks, pranks are all well and good. I hate as a tech journalist, I hate April Fool's Day because it means for roughly 3 or 4 days, you can't trust anything you read.
I know. I actually don't understand the worldwide phenomenon that is fake news on April 1st.
Oh, thank you.
Really that immature? Listen,
you.
Nobody likes to go on more than I do, but that's just dumb. I mean,
well, it drives me crazy because I got TWiT on Sunday. I have to look at every. I'm gonna have a cutoff. I won't be able to look at any stories after midnight tonight because I won't know if they're real or not, and I'm just live in terror of repeating an April Fool's joke as a news story.
Yep.
It's not like things get repeated on the internet. You'd be fine. You know, that wouldn't haunt you for years to come.
Well, that's why we're having John C. Dvorak on the show because he is the king of doing this. He's the black prince of April Fool's bogus April Fool's stories. But he always telegraphs it. You know, he starts off, and by the time you get halfway through, you go, "This is too outrageous," and then he says, and he always quotes Slurpaloof. You know, Microsoft PR flax Slurpaloof, which is April Fool's backwards. And so then you know, That's a made-up story. But even during the regular year, onion stories get repeated as gospel. So we will be doing that. But neither of you are going to. I just want to know. I can trust all about Microsoft.com and WinSuperSite.com. I don't have to worry when I read stories there. Those are real. You're not going to make up stories this year.
I am not making up an April Fool's story. Yeah.
Mary Jo?
I might.
Oh, dear. All right. No, thank you for letting me know.
No, actually, ZDNet sent us all a note and said, guys, no April Fool's stories on the site this year, please.
Oh, so there is a reaction. So I'm not alone. There is this reaction.
No, I think and in certain countries outside of the U.S., it's seen as more like, everybody does it. And so then because we have a lot of international freelancers who work for us, it's like, no, we're all on the same page. Nobody's doing
this. Nobody's going to do it. Nobody's going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm very relieved. Thank you.
I am too.
Just don't get it.
Well, it's fun. I mean, I'm one of those guys. When I was a kid, I put salt in the sugar bowl.
We did lots of things when we were kids.
My dad wailed me after that one, I'll tell you. he fell for it. He put his spoon of sugar in his coffee. It was salt, and he tasted it, and he spit it out.
It's like a Dirty Harry movie, right? Where he's walking across the street and spews the coffee all over the place.
I know what you're thinking. Did I fire 6 shots or only 5? All right. So moving along, I guess this is going to be something we're going to talk about for the next 8 or 9 months.
Right.
Windows 8, and this is one big question mark on Windows 8. Remember when Windows 7 and Vista came out, we had SKUs aplenty. They were spewing the SKUs. It was Vista that was really out of control, right? I mean, Vista was like SKU happy.
They're not that different in 7, to be fair, but a little better.
Yeah, a little better. Well, the question is, 8 would be an opportunity for Microsoft to go SKU happy again. SKUs are those different kinds of different versions of
product versions.
The product.
I think of them.
What does SKU stand for?
Stock
keeping unit.
Stock keeping unit.
Yep.
So I remember that from my Toys R Us days.
Did you work at Toys R Us?
Yes, that's where I met my wife.
Really? Wow.
Were you dressed as a giraffe? Was that you?
No, I did not wear a uniform.
You were. Wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. You met your wife at Toys R Us?
Yep.
Was she a customer?
No, we were both there during college for Christmas.
Oh, that's so cute.
Christmas work.
That is so cute. And so you met amongst the, what was it, Tickle Me Elmo in those days?
And the basketballs,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yep. Oh, she was in the Silly Putty aisle. You were in the G.I. Joe aisle. The two of you met. Sparks.
Actually, I worked in the computer aisle, but...
Did you?
Fair enough.
Oh, so you were a tech even then. Yeah, I always go to Toys R Us to get my computer devices.
Hey, back then it was all Commodore and Atari, so...
Oh, sure, those were toy computers, yeah. So how many, do we know, has Mr. Sinofsky weighed in on how many SKUs there will be?
Your lack of understanding of this is so hilarious.
Okay, well, edumacate me, Mr. Thurrott, please.
Actually, this is Mary Jo, so...
Edumacate me, Mary Jo, please.
No, we still don't know, as we like to say again here, which SKUs are going to be in all. But there are a lot of rumors coming around about, there's going to be the Windows 8 professional SKU. There's going to be today there was a rumor on Windows Unleaked TK, WinUnleaked.tk, which is the site of the famous leaker Kanuna. He's well known in the Windows.
The big Kanuna.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Paul.
No, his site is WinUnleaked.tk, and he's been getting builds post the consumer preview and been looking at what the SKUs might be, and he's been talking about maybe there will be this professional pack add-on that might be where they put Media Center. And today he had a post about he found a Windows 8 China SKU, which I kind of think is, I don't know this for a fact. I'm just guessing here. I'm thinking that might be one of the starter edition SKUs, because Microsoft with starter edition was the original idea of that back, I think it was with XP or Vista, was to customize SKUs for particular markets, like low-end SKUs that would be on simple PCs. So maybe this is part of that. he's looking at the bits. He doesn't really know. None of us know because Microsoft hasn't talked about SKUs. It's always one of the very last things they talk about when they talk about Windows is, what kind of versions are going to be out? What can you buy at retail? What's going to be preloaded and all that?
Looking at his post, I don't know that I got that there will be a China SKU. It's more like China and certain other countries are going to have specific feature sets because of the regulations there,
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, yeah, think about
the
way
SKU is
smartphones.
the SKU is core country specific.
Well, yeah. So when Windows Phone just went to China, for example, it is actually illegal there to have Twitter or Facebook.
Right.
So they could
in.
not. That's like a deep integration bit that's in Windows Phone, and so they replaced it with Chinese social networking services that are very popular there and are similar. That's obviously a huge engineering effort, but Windows 8 has the same kind of integration essentially. So they must. I would guess that that's what that is. Related to that kind of thing.
So I don't consider that a SKU. That's not because that's not going to confuse consumers. What the thing about SKU, spewing SKUs is that when you go,
you have to be skewered by the SKUs.
Yeah, then you go to the store and you have to say, well, do I want professional home basic unlimited starter edition, or do I want basic home professional unlimited starter?
Leo, let me tell you what I want. I want Windows 8.
Yes.
Could we just have something called Windows 8?
I'm not going to use the hated A word here, but there is another company that sells operating systems that does one version.
I remember Acorn computers. And
actually, they do two. They do a server and they do a desktop, and that's it. And that's really, truthfully, wouldn't that just
It's actually even better than that because they have a desktop and then they have a server component that you can download from the store and it turns it into a server.
It becomes desktop server. Yeah.
I don't think we can expect Microsoft to do the same thing because obviously the customer base is bigger and more diverse.
More diverse, okay.
Home and pro or home and business. I mean, come on. Like, it's so silly.
And then there's home, basic home. There's like different levels of home.
I know.
There's different levels of business. So the last couple, it's been like 6 SKUs, right? There's
I want Windows to be something that you buy electronically and you check off, like when you're buying a computer, the little components you want, and then it adds up, right? So you're like, I want Media Center, that's an extra $3.
Yeah, just have the feature
I want,
set.
No, I really don't.
We kind of got that. That's the Windows. I thought you did. But that's the Windows Anywhere upgrade, which I liked, which is you have a version. Really, the version you have has everything turned on in it, not all turned on. And if you do the Windows Anywhere upgrade, you press a button, pay $50, and boom, it's Windows. What do they call the full version? Windows Ultimate.
Ultimate, yeah.
But I think they should just sell Windows Ultimate. Why don't you sell Windows Ultimate? Just say this is it. This is the Windows. It's
Every
Ultimate.
Version is Ultimate. Yeah,
it's all
exactly.
Ultimate.
Why would you want something with your logo on it to be crappy?
Less than Ultimate.
Here's the version where you can't even change the background.
Here's the
wallpaper.
penultimate.
Surprise,
Windows penultimate. Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants.
Nobody wants it. But that we're blowing in the wind.
I know. Well, and then, should there be an enterprise SKU versus a consumer SKU, right? Like, that's I can see actually a little more a case for that than.
Well, you're you represent enterprise here. What is the case for that?
It's so modular. Enterprises could configure it the way they want it anyway.
They can. But Microsoft's idea is always to upsell, right? Like they would want to give you the least possible features for your money that you can have in one SKU, right? And then
you're really
you
selling it, Mary Jo.
Yeah,
I'm not defending that. I'm just saying, I think this is why.
Oh, well,
because Apple doesn't try to sell to businesses, right? They sell to businesses, but they don't try to sell.
Well, and they only charge $30 for the full, OS 10 Ultimate is $30.
But
they do sell a new version every year.
That's a little unfair because that's an upgrade and it assumes you have the previous.
But
version,
it always does. They haven't done. Yeah. It's always been that way. And next year when they do Mountain Lion, it's going to be the same. Or this year, I guess. Now.
Yeah. One of the big arguments that I made in the wake of the release of Windows 7 was that Microsoft had made it very difficult. Well, actually, let me step back a bit. Before Windows 7 was released, remember they had that promotional deal where you could buy the family pack. And it was very cheap. I think it was $150 for 3 copies of Windows Home Premium Upgrade, right? But they didn't allow you very easily, at least, certainly not out of the box, to take the upgrade version and do an in-place clean install, just a clean install of the operating system. And so I wrote this article that became one of the more popular articles I've written that explained exactly how you can make that work. And some people, of course, argued to me like, well, this is not legal. You can't. What if that person doesn't have a previous copy of Windows? They don't qualify for this. Hey, guess what? There isn't a single human being on Earth that doesn't have a previous copy of Windows. Everyone qualifies for the upgrade. Why would you have?
I come from Mars, and we have never had Windows in Mars.
Yeah, give me a break. I mean, if you're putting it on a PC, you qualify.
Right.
And the thing is, basically, but you talk about all these SKUs, but it's worse than that because it isn't just the 17 SKUs. There are upgrade versions of most of those SKUs. Right. There are 32 and 64-bit versions. Right. And then there are all the region-specific versions. Yep. And then there's the Windows Anywhere upgrade stuff, which I admit is a great service, but is only a great service out of the weird necessity of it because they have arbitrarily created all these SKUs. Right. It's such a crazy system. It's crazy.
But you don't ever think, Paul, that there'll be one, right? Like I don't ever see the day there'll be one.
You can't step back from this precipice. Once you've started doling it out this way.
And Dave McD does point out in our chat room a good point, which is that Apple sells hardware. That's their business. Microsoft sells software. This is their business.
They're absolutely different businesses. Yeah. And Microsoft's audience, customer base, is much bigger and much more diverse than that of the Mac. So it's awesome for those people who buy Macs and Mac OS X and that they have that one choice. It's the greatest thing, maybe about it, but it just doesn't apply to this bigger, more diverse world that we're in on the Windows side. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
But I wish it was simpler. That's all.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Let's take a break. We are talking about Windows on an unusual day on a Friday because Paul is just back. I would love to know about Connections, the Penton Media Conference in Las Vegas, but he can't tell us because he's, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Right. You saw the ad campaign. I'm sure you did as you leave the airport. It's a very interesting ad campaign. They have it's to promote Vegas and to tell people. It's very subtle in a way because they have big pictures of people, different kinds of social media types. Like, he talks about everything on Twitter. Oh, there's pictures of everything she does on Facebook. And, arrest these people, bust them because don't you know what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas? And these people are violating that. And at first, when I first saw it, I couldn't quite figure it out. Now I kind of get it. It's I think it's a clever campaign. It's like social media blabbermouths.
Vegas, it is among the happiest moments of my life.
I agree.
Yeah, agreed. Ooh.
I didn't leave my heart in Vegas. It's another body part.
It's part of my soul, really.
Yeah, your soul. And the rent money. We're going to talk about Windows Phone updates. I've got to talk about the Lumia. Paul's been doing the research on the AT&T site. In fact, I got a tweet from somebody who said, Paul, Mary Jo, please talk me down. I just ordered the Lumia 900. I hope I didn't make a mistake. I'm
getting one.
Really? It's okay, huh?
I don't have one. I'm getting one, and yes, I think
this is from St. Louis Dryling. He says, let me pull it up here. He says, Mary Jo, Paul, please calm me down. Pre-ordered Lumia 900 moments ago and freaking out about it.
Well, the big fear with the Lumia is that it won't be upgradable to Windows Phone 8.
Right. But we'll talk about that.
One of the many unknowns. Yeah.
The more we know, the less we know. And there's a SKU for that.
You've been skewed.
You've been skewed. Hey, you know what I want to talk about right now is a brand new sponsor on the show. I'm very excited about this. But a name you'll know, CorelDRAW. Remember CorelDRAW? We had somebody on TWiT Photo on Tuesday. He's a great designer, really great designer. And we were talking about how they started out. And he said, I started out on CorelDRAW. And we kind of laughed. Like, oh, yeah, I remember that was great. CorelDRAW has gotten better and better and better. And now the CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X6 is out, the most powerful version yet of the only professional graphics suite developed exclusively for Windows. This is, no compromises here. This is a Windows app. And let me tell you, well, we've got somebody in the studio audience, Susan Rogers, who's here from Carmel Valley. She says she uses it. She takes her photos. They have a great watercolor filter. She turns them into watercolors. CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X6 includes vector illustration, page layout, photo editing, and web design software. So you get everything in one package. All you need to express your style and creativity, including 1,000 new fonts. I always like that about Corel. When you install the Corel package, you get all these great fonts. Now, you're seeing the price there, $4.99, but I'm going to tell you how you could try it free for 30 days in just a second. You get 1,000 stock photos. You get 10,000 clip art images, 250 templates. There are training videos on the disk, 2.5 hours thereof. 64-bit totally through and through. I like that. So no more of having to worry. If you're using 64-bit Windows, yes, it will all work fully. Use all the memory you've got installed. A powerful new typography engine with advanced OpenType support, new document styles, and more. So here's what you do. 2 things. Go to CorelDRAW, Corel.com/Windows Weekly to try it. They have a 30-day trial at no cost. Corel.com/Windows Weekly. And if you decide to buy it, we've got a promo code for you, TWiTX6. Okay, this is a little bit of a complicated one. TWiTX, the number 6, and you'll save 10%. That's $50. I would get the box version, but you can also download it, and I like that. That's always nice because if you're in a hurry. And they do have upgrade pricing if you're a CorelDRAW user already. This is the one designed exclusively for Windows, fully 64-bit, lots of nice features, and free for the first 30 days if you go to Corel.com/Windows Weekly, and $50 off, 10% off if you use Windows Weekly. I'm sorry. Nope. TWiTX6 is the offer code. TWiTX6. That special offer varies by country, available through April 30th. So don't delay. It kind of makes me happy. Didn't Corel? I think Corel bought Paint Shop Pro, didn't they? So I mean, these guys have. These were the original. Corel is such a name.
They own WordPerfect now.
That's right. I'm just glad they're around and banging it out and still making great stuff. And we're really glad to have them on Windows Weekly. That's our first. I think that's our first advertiser that's really a Windows-focused advertiser. I love that.
Plus, they're Canadian, so they've got.
Oh, that's right. I knew there was a reason I had a soft spot there from Canada. I like that. Let us move along here to your next item, which is the Windows Phone. Is that it? I have it here, right here. Love it. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Windows Phone updates. So first of all, Lumia. Can you just do the Lumia thing?
Okay.
Just do the Lumia thing, because everybody wants to know everyone wants to know what.
So the Lumia thing, the Lumia thing,
the Lumia thing, yeah,
as we call it, the Lumia 900, is available for pre-order on AT&T today.
Today,
if you're a new customer, I believe you can actually get it for free, but it's $99 is the regular price. If you want it unlocked, it's $449. It's available
that's pretty
in
good,
black
actually.
and cyan. It's actually, I should say pre-order. Did I say pre-order?
Yeah.
Not order. And I think it is coming out on April 8th. I think they ship April
Get the
5th.
Cyan. It's beautiful. I've played with it. It feels nice in your hand. It is a good-looking phone. I really, really like it.
Yeah, so if you've seen the 800, the differences are this one has a bigger screen, a better camera. The glass on the front is not as wraparound. It's more of a flat glass surface. It has a front-facing camera. It has, does it have more memory? I'm not sure if it has more storage or not. I don't think so. Probably 16 is probably standard across both those.
But I think this is the Windows, the premier Windows phone. It's the flagship.
Yeah.
So if you want a great...
AT&T is pumped about this, from what I've been told.
Yeah, they ought to be.
They've had
best of show. CNET gave it the best of show for CES. I'd agree. I held it at CES. I was very impressed.
Yeah.
It's LTE, and by the way, AT&T, which has been laggard in LTE, is really trying to get it out in more cities. That we just heard that they're putting it in Petaluma. I'm very pleased to say, across the street.
Mm-hmm. I used LTE for the first time in Vegas.
It's fast.
Yeah, I got 25 down.
25 megabits down. Wow. I think if you're interested at all in Windows Phone, I would say this.
I like it 3 up, by the way, but
3 up, only 3 up.
25 down was good.
Man, are we spoiled? Oh, I only had 3 megabits up on a cell phone. I'm sorry. I'm going to calm down now. Carl Zeiss photo.
Weather updates don't happen on their own, Leo.
Yeah,
I have to know now.
Yeah. 8-megapixel camera with a Zeiss lens, dual LED flash, megapixel front-facing camera. Is there anything you can use that with?
The front-facing camera?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Actually, I think the Skype I haven't used it.
Nothing from Microsoft.
Well, no, I think the Skype app would probably work.
Oh, that's right. They own Microsoft. Owns them. I forgot. Yeah. So of course it'll work.
It's a Tango app.
It's not a dual core, but it is fast. It's a 1.4 gigahertz Snapdragon.
This one doesn't require dual core. I mean, I know this is a big area.
Nothing. You know what, Paul? Nothing requires dual core.
I don't know.
It's
hard to say, but I can tell you that these 1 gigahertz plus single core processor
fast.
Windows phones, they scream.
Plenty fast. Yeah.
There's never a slowdown on these things.
And battery life, they're claiming 7 hours of talk time, which is huge. And that's another reason not to have two processors in those things.
Yeah, and actually, the Nokia guys have their own apps as well in these phones that are unique to the Lumias that you can't get on other Windows
Now,
phones.
somebody was saying I think the phrase he used was crap load of bloatware.
I would call that additional value from Nokia.
Nokia and AT&T.
There are different ways to nuance it.
This is tempting. I gotta say. Now, I still have my by the way,
there is a white version coming.
Oh,
it will be on sale on
nice.
April 22nd, I think.
Okay.
I'm not sure. You can't pre-order it today, but maybe sometime soon you can pre-order that one as well.
And Mary Jo said Walmart's selling them for $50 with a new activation.
Nice.
They are.
Nice. Yeah. Free shipping with all. Nice. It's an AMOLED display, 4.3 inches. It's nice and big.
Yep.
I like the big.
It's an American phone, Leo.
It's a phone.
Actually, it's a Finnish phone. But
it's Finnish.
You know what I'm saying.
It's a Finnish phone made for America.
Well, it was designed in San Diego.
Was it? By Qualcomm?
No, by Nokia. They have U.S. Design Lab in San Diego.
It is. I would say easily the most interesting looking phone, and when you pair it with that Metro interface, it is definitely a good look.
You have to see these things in person because when you see that, you get around a table at a restaurant, everyone pops out their phone, and it's like iPhone, Android, and then this one, and there's something about the Nokia phones. I mean, they're the 800, 900 anyway.
Hey, when you get smoked by Microsoft, is it this phone they're smoking you with?
Actually, now it is.
What are they smoking?
Well, it's funny you say that. Is that in the notes?
No, but it just came to mind.
Well, no, because there is a side story. So there's a smoke by Windows Phone promotion that Microsoft's doing.
Right.
Nokia is apparently doing one in, I don't know if it's just the UK or in Europe or whatever, but they're doing the same thing. And I don't know, Mary Jo, if you remember what they call it.
Smoked by Ludafisk.
No, they have a different. Yeah, exactly. No, it's.
I thought they were still calling it Smoke by Windows Phone, aren't they?
What's that?
The Nokia one's still Smoke by Windows Phone, right?
I thought they had a different name for it. I could.
Well, now that my iPhone's not working, I might pick this thing up. I've got a free AT&T line.
I can't guarantee you that the Lumia will survive the water bath.
Well, I won't dip it in the water this time.
Yeah.
Stupid me. God. The smoke. There was a guy who was a little upset. I read the blog post where he said, I went in to do the smoke by Microsoft. I have my Android phone, and it just happened that so what you do is you go into the Microsoft store, and they give you a task, and an employee with a Windows phone faces off against you, and whoever accomplishes the task first wins. And they've got all those videos, the viral videos on YouTube. And he said, just by chance, the task was get the weather in 2 different cities, and
there's a second half to this story.
Yes, I know, and I'll let you do that. But so it just happened that he had it already set up on his Galaxy Nexus that he had 2 widgets. I don't know why. This is not a normal thing, but he did have 2 weather widgets right on the front page. So all he had to do was turn on the phone, and so he did win.
Well, except that the second half to it was he also went in and disabled the lock screen, right? One of the arguments I had on Twitter the other day about this event was that, people should typically put a pin on a smartphone because of all the personal information.
But you don't have to, and it is in the feature set.
No. Hold on.
Okay.
But he didn't just not have a pin. He actually removed the lock screen And so part of this challenge is you have to, turn your phone on and go do the thing. So his phone came on and went right to the home screen, which is a really kind of non-standard configuration. I mean, so not only did he luckily have the exact 2 widgets he needed to succeed at this random task, this tech blogger.
You cannot have a lock screen. See that? None. Yeah. And when you set that on your Android phone, and now I'll go home and I'll turn off the phone, and now I turn the phone on, it turns on without a lock screen. It just goes on. Whoops.
Yeah.
Swipe
and that's what he did. So you see, but you have a...
That's a TouchWiz thing. He has a Nexus, which I tried it on my Nexus, and it is indeed, in fact, the case that you can turn off so that it turns on.
It was just a perfect storm of...
he was lucky. I don't have 2 weather widgets. Nobody has 2 weather widgets. So
you know what this reminds me of, though? Remember when there was this big outcry that Microsoft was using actors in a commercial, and people were like, they acted like they were real people, but they're actors.
In a commercial.
Yeah, this feels like that, too, because this is a promotion, guys. I mean...
Yeah. Well, but they were promising a prize, and they denied him the prize. Right,
no, but
which
then
is kind of
bogus.
They
gave him a laptop and a phone.
Yeah, after he bitched about it in his blog and got a lot of attention, they said, "Oh, but I don't blame Microsoft. It was the manager at the store who was being a jerk." To be honest,
they handled it poorly.
They handled it well, I thought.
And then at the
after
store,
the fact.
at the store they handled it poorly.
Yeah,
well, because
the manager should just say, "Yeah, you won here."
It's like you lost, but by the way, now you have to take a photo so I can put it in the loser circle. It's like rubbing salt in the wound after the fact. He's like, but I won. It's like, yeah, but we need a loser photo.
I know. They literally made him go stand in front of a sign that says, "I was smoked by Windows."
Yeah, like
this is really, frankly, bogus. And I think that if you're going to do a promotion like that, you've got to, if somebody wins,
but hold on.
You can't go, "Oh well, he didn't have a lock screen on."
It was like one event. I mean, at one store. Windows Phone has still won like 9,000 times. I mean, it's not a... Yeah, I get it.
I could also say they win because they come up with fairly obscure challenges, like get the weather in 2 different cities, and say, go ahead, try that.
But they also do normal things like post a status to Facebook. I mean, I think they do more of those real challenges.
All right,
than they
I
do
hope so.
I think so.
Well, they're meant to be things that people do on a phone.
Are they still doing it after this? I could go to a Microsoft store with my Galaxy Note and do this.
Sure. You could.
All right.
Why don't you?
Because I don't want to. I don't want to
make sure you get rid of the lock screen and throw a couple of weather widgets on there. You never know.
Well, you never know. That's right. I mean, that is a little weird, but I think now I don't. I'm taking the blogger's story at face value. Maybe he knew ahead of time what the challenge was going to be, because it is a little weird to have 2 widgets on there. But if it's the case that it's just it was a perfect storm, as you say, where he didn't have a lock screen and he happened to have 2 temperatures on the widget. I bet you though they don't have his video on the site. Smoked by Windows Phone.
Well, no, but that was a local event. I mean, these are things you're looking at are something that Microsoft kind of corporate did. I mean, I think that they're doing these sort of locally.
Oh, I see. All right.
So this was like,
these say, I've got $100 that says your phone isn't as fast as a Windows Phone.
Yeah. No, he went in because that day specifically they were, they had like a Hunger Games laptop or something that was up for grabs if you could.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, I mean, okay, let's set that aside. And this was not in your show notes, but as long as we brought it up, I'm gonna address it. On the face of it, the Windows Phone is fast, but so is Android and iPhone. They're not. One's not faster than the other.
Well, that's not the point. So I would say this: anything you're used to using is the most efficient thing to use, right? I mean. If you use Android to post to Facebook, or you use the iPhone to post on Twitter, that's the easiest way for you to do those things. There's no doubt about it. I think the point behind Windows Phone is that it needs to be marketed because people don't even know it exists.
Yeah, market it, but I think it's a bogus marketing thing to say, oh, you can do stuff faster on Windows Phone. Because I don't think that's true.
I think what they're trying to say is you are used to using your phone, and so here's this completely different thing.
Right.
Let's see which one can do it more.
That's a good point. Like, you've never used this before, but look. But wait, it's not you doing it though. It's the Microsoft employee doing it.
Sure.
It'd be true. That would be one thing.
Well,
that would be cool if they said, here, watch how easily you can learn how to do this on our phone. That would be kind of cool. But they're not saying that.
Well, they can't do that because, unfortunately, once you've used one of these phones, you're broken because you only know that way to do it. You could sit there with a Windows phone and stare at it for 10 minutes trying to find the camera app when there's like a button right on the side that like an iPhone user would never know how to use because you've just ruined yourself.
Right.
But, by the way that thing works. I mean, it's not fair to call that lock-in, but it is one of the aspects of using these devices where you just get used to it. And so moving on to the next one is much easier.
I'm not saying Microsoft's lying. All I'm saying is I'm not sure that's the best marketing campaign I've ever heard of. Because I think most people will say, are you telling me Windows Phone is faster? Because I don't think that's true.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I'm a skeptic on all marketing campaigns.
Well,
like I'm a PC, I'm a Mac. Were those true commercials either? I mean,
actually, there were some outright lies in those. I mean, absolutely.
It's a promo.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not supposed to be fair.
It's an ad. It's not supposed to be fair.
Exactly. There you go.
It's an ad. It's not supposed to be fair. But you know what? CorelDRAW is fantastic. Okay. So AT&T has not said yet what the update situation is going to be. We don't know even on the Lumia 900 if it's updatable.
No, I actually asked about that, and Microsoft doesn't, as of the other day, have these phones in-house yet either. They have prototypes, but they haven't gotten the final version. So one of the questions I got, and one of the questions I did ask was, so this Lumia device that AT&T is going to be selling, it's going to be up to date, right? And actually, no, I don't know.
Well, it's going to run Mango, right? It's running plain old Mango when it comes out, as far as we know.
Actually, if somebody went into a store, AT&T reps in the stores have them now. It would be very easy to find out. So maybe somebody could do that. Or maybe someone has done that. We could find out. Yeah. Because, there's been a Mango release. There's been the subsequent software updates like the 8107 that no one's gotten on AT&T. And then there's been Tango. What if, maybe it comes with Tango?
No, it doesn't.
I would be interested. No, it doesn't. Okay.
That part mind. I know. That's the one part I do know because somebody did find out it wasn't Tango. But
okay.
Yeah, I saw an interesting report this week from WP Central where they got in touch with someone from AT&T. I don't think they said who, but somebody who could speak for the company, and they said, "Yeah, we're not going to give you a separate disappearing keyboard update, guys, and we're not going to give you the visual voicemail update either." But then there's going to be an update coming sometime soon, and we're going to roll up all the updates into that, it seems. So I'm guessing once people get these phones that there'll be like some kind of a mega update probably that'll go not just to, the brand new phones coming out now, but also hopefully the Focus and the Titan and all that.
Is there any evidence to suggest that that's ever going to happen? My God.
I know. And we don't know for sure. Yeah. Because Microsoft stopped telling everybody, what updates are coming when for which phones. They've decided not to do that anymore. So we don't know for sure.
I'm just so sick of these people. And it's tough because I like the service in the sense that, I go to Europe and they have nice international plans and all that kind of stuff. And certainly the phone service in the U.S. has gotten a lot better. But my God, how could you deny Windows Phone users an update that doesn't break any functionality, that fixes some very crucial issues? How do you not do that? It's so amazingly clueless of them.
Yeah.
And yet so utterly predictable.
Yeah.
Very frustrating.
Sigh. Yeah, and then we won't even talk about Verizon because there's nothing to say at all about Verizon.
Yeah. I still look at that as the high-tech version of two petulant children that are mad at each other, and Verizon refuses to add a Windows Phone until
who
they
is
can
to
have
blame here? Who is to blame? I mean, why not?
Yeah.
On Verizon?
Yeah, I
think Verizon's perspective is we're not doing anything until we have LTE, and LTE is exclusive right now on AT&T for some indeterminate.
Okay.
3 months, 6 months, whatever it is.
All right. Okay.
Verizon, the last time we saw this information, was supposed to have the Lumia 710 in April. We've heard absolutely nothing about that other than them complaining about LTE. So I don't think we're going to see that happen. And then I think maybe we're looking at the fall. And once you start talking about the fall, of course, you're talking about Windows Phone 8, and it's just sad. That Verizon has that one phone. I don't know what the update situation is. Mary Jo, do you know? Have they been updating it at least? Okay.
No, so I got one firmware update, but none of the disappearing keyboard, visual voicemail, none of those. So,
what's the disappearing keyboard? Is that a feature or a bug?
A bug.
Okay, just checking.
I see that one.
It could be good. It could be good.
You're typing an update, and the keyboard just slides down as you type.
Oh no, that's not good. That isn't good. No.
It's good stuff.
No. And the other bit of Windows Phone news we had this week was finally Dell has admitted publicly that they're not going to be pushing Windows Phone 7s anymore in the U.S.
Oh.
So no more Venue Pro sales. This is something that has been rumored for months, but Dell, I guess, finally has admitted that. And when people are asking them, so does that mean you're going to do Windows Phone 8? They're not saying. They're just saying we're going to have mobile products, but they're not saying smartphones in sometime later this year. But we don't know, are they even going to have Windows Phone 8? The rumor is they are, but they aren't saying that at all.
You know what's too bad about that is at launch, at the original Windows Phone launch, I mean, arguably, that Dell Venue Pro is like the prettiest phone. It was one of the ones with a slider keyboard. It was a beautiful device. It was just really nice looking. Smaller screen and all that kind of stuff, but I guess it never took off. It was kind of the type of Windows Phone you might choose as a BlackBerry replacement, right? Because of the hardware keyboard. But they never came out with a second model, and I don't even recall what carrier was that on. Was that AT&T?
I think it was. It wasn't Sprint and it wasn't Verizon. So,
but there is a CDMA. Nokia has a CDMA.
The Chinese
one in China, right? Yeah.
It's a CDMA for China, which is actually a different kind of CDMA.
Yeah. Yeah. So China, they launched the Lumia 800 equivalent in China this week, which is called the 800C, and then they said they're going to have a CDMA equivalent, the Lumia 610, sometime in Q2. So now we're starting to see the Nokia phones in China as well, which is good, given that's the biggest smartphone market in the world as of this year, according to different analysts.
Yep. Wow.
Yep.
I wonder if China will be to Windows Phone as Europe was to the Amiga. I recall
it always comes down to the Amiga, doesn't it, Paul?
Well, it never sold well here, but I remember these guys used to always say, well, this thing is huge in Europe. And I'm like, okay, but you never see them here. I don't understand, but it's huge in Europe. So maybe Windows Phone will be huge in China.
It could be. There's a cultural bias to phones. The phones that, for instance, are huge in Japan, we never even see here.
Right.
So there's a cultural bias, and I don't know what the cultural bias is in China. They seem to love the iPhone, but it may be that the Windows Phone just kind of suits them. And remember, the language is a big part of the success or failure of any technology in both China and Japan, because they don't use a Roman alphabet.
Yep.
And so how well the Windows Phone handles the characters is a big issue.
I would think that a touch screen would be pretty good for that kind of thing.
Because it's completely customizable, right?
You're drawing characters.
Certainly, it's a lot easier for that than to use a BlackBerry with a built-in Roman keyboard.
Right.
True.
Hence the lack of adaptation in China of the RIM platform.
Yeah, if it wasn't for that, RIM would be doing
huge. I'm sorry.
And we have a little update on what the Lumia 900 is supposedly running from one of our listeners, Stephen M. He says version 8112, which is slightly above 8107, the disappearing keyboard. So it's going to have that, I guess, but it's not Tango. So it's something between.
But it is at least 8107 plus.
Yep, it is.
Great. Okay, there you go.
Yep. Let's see here. We could do a couple more before we get our picks and our tips. Xbox Live had some big news this week. I can watch my Xfinity on there, which is kind of cool. In fact, Xbox Live is starting to look like a really good platform, unless you want to watch Blu-ray discs. And I kicked myself because I bought the PS3 for the Blu-ray capabilities, but now it turns out as a media platform, Xbox Live is really the way to go.
To be fair, you can buy a Blu-ray player for about $16. Right
oh, you mean a
now.
standalone?
No,
yeah. No, they have them. I know they're cheap, and I was stupid, but there you go. I thought, well, I'll get the game machine and the Blu-ray player. And what's the difference? PlayStation, Xbox, they're all the same.
Leo.
Never mind. So you've got HBO Go, you've got Xfinity, Major League Baseball too. Yep. That says we head into the season. That's exciting.
Does anyone here have an Xfinity? Has anyone tried this?
I use it. I haven't used it obviously on the Xbox, but
I can say that the FiOS service, which is similar, works very well on the Xbox. I'd be curious.
I'm kicking myself now. You know?
I think Xfinity does not offer something that FiOS offers, like on-demand programming. It might just be live TV or the reverse.
I'm confused because Comcast also has this new Streambox thing, which is their competitor to Netflix, and Amazon streaming, and so there are literally Comcast has literally 3 different products.
Sure.
And I can't.
Now they have this
and this, so I can't really. I'm not sure.
Who knows what this works with?
I'll have to try it on the Xbox. I have a Gold account. I just don't have it hooked up to my TV. My son has the Xbox.
So the neat thing is, if you do have it plugged into the same network, you just turn it on, and that app will just work. You don't have to log in. You don't have to do anything silly. It just kind of works. Or at least it does at the FiOS side. I assume that's true of Comcast as well.
Yeah. So that's big, but of course HBO Go, you have to have a Comcast. Or you have to have permission of your cable company to use it, which is very weird. You have to be an HBO subscriber, and not all cable companies allow you to do this, but many do. So what you'll do with the HBO Go is you log on to your cable company, and then it says, "Oh yeah,
you cannot have HBO Go. You can only have HBO here." I don't understand why HBO doesn't just put their stuff on iTunes when it debuts.
They will. I think you know why. Because the cable companies would get very mad at them, and they'd have trouble negotiating their contracts with the cable operators, the MSOs as they're called.
Half the reason people even have cable is to have HBO.
Exactly.
I think HBO has the power.
They have the power. Well, at some point they're going to have to do that because, well, Game of Thrones is a good.
You know
example.
why Game of Thrones season 2 is on Sunday?
Exactly, but can you? But while I can, for instance, Mad Men, I love Mad Men. I was able to go to iTunes and buy a season pass ahead of time, so I can download, but you can't do that with Game of Thrones because HBO won't be selling it for a year. And the question is this HBO's stupidity? Because, of course, everybody knows you just go to BitTorrent and you can download
They probably signed this 25-year agreement where
that's what I think.
The way we deliver TV will never change.
Exactly. That's what I think. And I know that as, at Tech TV and other cable channels have this agreement with the MSOs, you will not offer it on the Internet. You can only, we control the distribution. So I would guess that's what's going on.
Right.
You quote a blog post from liveside.net. Xfinity on Xbox, not without problems.
Yeah. Some people, they were when all these new apps came out this week. There were people saying you can't, if you're an Xfinity subscriber, you can't get HBO Go working on the Xbox 360. So. It wasn't all smooth sailing, and some of these things sound like they aren't going to be resolved.
Because I expect some growing pain. It's brand new.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
But some of them may be permanent.
Yes.
Some of this is that HBO Go issue that I was talking about. I know that in some areas Comcast will let you get HBO Go. And some areas that they won't. It's really up to the local Comcast franchisee.
God, consistency is that's fantastic.
Sounds like Windows Phone.
But more importantly, Monday we're going to be playing Star Wars and have a lightsaber in our hands like this.
Except that we won't because it's Kinect. You remember that video with the fat kid running around with the faking with the lightsaber, and it became like a internet meme or whatever.
Yeah.
Now we're all
that kid. We're all lightsaber kid.
I don't understand. I love Star Wars. I love the Xbox. This is not happening.
That's kind of sad.
It's just
so you're saying you're not going to do this because you would be embarrassed to be the lightsaber kid. You just can't imagine yourself. But
see, at least he's holding something.
It's a lot easier when you're holding something.
He would destroy an HD TV if he was doing this with a Kinect.
It's still funny. I'm just saying, this kid's probably 48, has kids of his own.
But you mean now?
Isn't he the guy who had the Zune tattoo? Is that him?
Oh my God! I hope not.
Remember that guy?
Yeah, Zune tattoo guy.
Didn't he have it forcibly removed?
He did.
Did he? Did he really?
Yeah. He did.
Oh, that's sad.
It is sad.
I thought that was Zune is forever.
That's the worst thing that ever happened to Zune.
I thought Zune was forever. Oh, I'm disappointed now. I'm in some ways disillusioned. Oh well.
That was.
But there are people who are all excited about Kinect Star Wars.
I am. But I mean, so it is Kinect. So that, but I mean, if you wanted to hold a stick, you could, right?
Yeah.
I guess you could.
I guess. This area. This entire discussion is fraught with peril.
I think Leo's got to do a live demo of this next week.
I actually look like that kid. He and I have the same body type.
You don't.
Chubby.
You don't look like.
Oh,
that
thank
kid.
you. You're very kind, Mary
You do not look
You're
like
very
that kid.
sweet. We were talking about this on iPad today. The Jay Allard's Courier team, as you know, was forced out at Microsoft because they said, no, that's not where we're going to go, even though everybody was so excited about this demo video of the tablet that opens and has a left side and a right side.
Yep.
The team moved on, and now there are competing apps on the iPad made by the old Courier team.
Yeah.
We showed
it's
Paper.
Kind of ironic.
Yeah, it is ironic.
Did you guys talk about the Paper app on iPad today?
We looked at both of them, and Paper was the one that seemed the most mature, most useful. I've been playing with Tapose, which is Jay Allard actually invested in.
Yeah.
It is kind of Courier-like. I'm not. Let's see if I can pull it up here.
If only they had a way where you could buy two iPads and then latch them together in kind of a two-screen mode.
Well, it gives you a left side and a right side, and you have different kinds of paper, and you can embed media, rich media, in here. And I mean, it feels more like an exercise, to be honest, because it's got some odd. You slide this up to get these pieces that you can drag a calculator in and stuff like that. So I have to say, it's very interesting. I found a little bit awkward to use and maybe perhaps a little bit buggy, but nevertheless, it's there. And
so it has like these edge UIs, kind of like what
right here on I can't. Let's unplug it so I can show you a little bit better. But there are icons here which disappear if you tap this thing. How do you
make them come back?
There's a little button that you tap. Okay.
Oh, I see. But
and then there's this one where you can slide it up. There's a little slider here, and you get some things here. But you hit the nail on the head, which is it's a little unintuitive. Like, I know that there's got to be some way to get back to that other page, but
help.
There, I closed it. That's what I want.
And that's exactly.
And that's it right there. That's how you solve that.
The other app though, Paper.
Paper's kind of cool.
Yeah. So what I'm actually more interested in Paper because of who's behind it. Like when you go to the About page. On 53 Inc., which is the company that created this new iPad app called Paper. It's the whole Courier team. I mean, it's like
so Tapose is just a couple of guys, but this is everybody else.
This is like all the people who worked in Pioneer Studios. They worked on Xbox. They worked on Courier, and now they've formed this company. And the first app they do is this app called Paper, which is for the iPad. And
I don't mean to downplay their accomplishment here, but you're telling me that an entire team of people that were going to create the next Microsoft tablet succeeded in writing what looks like
it's a drawing
finger painting application.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, it's more than that.
Oh, okay.
But it's not Courier.
This is not Courier, but
Tapose is an attempt to do something kind of like Courier.
Right. Tapose is very Courier-like, and this is more like a content creation app for the iPad from the people who worked on Courier.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. And, a couple of my readers brought up an interesting point. They said, didn't Microsoft have patents on any of this stuff? Like, I mean, like, don't you think they had patents on Courier? Like, how did they get away with doing this, right?
Maybe that was part of Jay Allard's leaving, though. Maybe he said, look, if you're not going to do this, give me some of it or whatever.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's an interesting idea. Huh.
Yeah.
Perhaps. We're going to take a break. Coming up, our tip of the week, software pick of the week, enterprise pick of the week, code name pick of the week. And we aren't going to do your Audible pick, but if you wanted to mention it, you could do that, Paul. I mean, I don't feel like you have to wait till an Audible ad if you've got something you like. This is actually one I was very interested in. I saw myself, but we'll talk about it in a bit.
Okay.
Right now, let's talk about GoToMyPC from the great folks at Citrix. This is a way you can access your computer whenever you're not at your computer. And you might say, well, that's remote access. Well, yeah, okay, but it's remote access with a lot of nice features. GoToMyPC.com, that's the website. You could try it free, unlimited use for 30 days, so it's a good way to see what it can do. Mac or PC, it's completely cross-platform. So if you're at your office right now, visit GoToMyPC.com. Click the Try It Free button. Use the offer code WINDOWS. And yes, you can use the offer code Windows and use it on your Mac. I don't care. Whatever computer you want to access remotely. Now, head out once you've installed it. And it takes very little time to install it. There's some real advantages here. For one thing, it uses something called NAT traversal. So you don't have to configure a firewall. You don't have to open ports or anything. It's 128-bit SSL, completely secure. So it's almost like a VPN to your remote access. The security is to the point where there's never been an exploit on GoToMyPC. It's really rock solid. Also very, very fast. And I love it that you can, of course, use your laptop and get online. Anywhere you get online, you can access your office computer, do anything you could do at work. But it doesn't have to be a laptop. It now works on the iPad and the iPhone. So you can use your iPad, and this new on the iPad 3 with the Retina display, you probably have more resolution than your office computer. You've got the full thing. Keyboard, mouse, run any program, send and receive email, access any network resource, all from your iPhone or your iPad. It is really amazing and a real lifesaver. You literally have access to your office in your pocket wherever you go. So the 30-day trial, go to the website, GoToMyPC.com. There is a orange Try It Free button. Click that button. And then the offer code on this is Windows. That should be easy to remember. GoToMyPC.com. Use the offer code Windows and give it a try today. It is a fantastic piece of software. Very elegant, very fast, very easy to use. And now with the portable. By the way, the portable apps are free. You don't have to pay for the iPhone or the iPad app. And you don't have to pay for GoToMyPC for the first 30 days. GoToMyPC.com. Use the offer code Windows. While we were talking, I installed a paper on my iPad, and it's actually quite beautiful too, which is kind of neat. It's free, but what's interesting about, and they have this weird rewind thing where you go turn back the clock, undo by doing this and stuff like that. So it's kind of an interesting program. The way they make money, though, they're selling pens. You know, the virtual.
Really?
Yeah, so the app is free, but features, you buy features. Isn't that interesting?
Pens?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like software pens?
Software pens. Yeah, different colors and stuff. It's really it's beautiful. I think they did a nice job. And this is clearly not infringing on any Courier patents.
No.
Tapose, on the other hand, is basically the Courier.
Yeah, no, there's a lot more going on there than I thought. That looks pretty nice.
No, it's actually it's a really interesting, and this is of course a paper journal, so you can see what the journals look like and so forth. And you can post them and all of that. All right, moving along. Time for your tip of the week, Mr. Thurrott.
So, I probably haven't mentioned this, but I'm writing a book about Windows 8.
No.
and it's consuming my life.
Oh, good.
And, you know, as sort of a general bit of advice for people who are approaching this OS, specifically from the standpoint of a consumer and individual, I've always sort of been saying, a lot, you know, as we've gone along here, that, you know, it offers you this chance to log on with your Microsoft account instead of just a normal local account like you would do today in Windows 7 or in previous versions of Windows. And that logging on that way, or signing in, as now Microsoft says, gives you additional capabilities around, you know, syncing settings between PCs, Metro-style apps, and so forth. But, you know, actually, the more I dive into this for the book, the more I realize that these integration bits are far deeper than has been suggested, and that signing in with a Microsoft account, or what we think of as Windows Live ID today, is what you really want to do. Like, really, really want to do this. And I would tell people who are testing this now that you should test it both ways. It's very interesting what happens when you don't sign in with a Microsoft account. So, for example, applications like Mail Calendar, Messaging, and People are all tied together. So that if you want to use one of those, you actually have to sign in with a Microsoft account at that point. And it doesn't tie it to your local account, but you have to do that. And those apps are all tied together under the covers. But there are other apps where you can't actually use them without using a Microsoft account as your sign-in. So, for example, the SkyDrive app is an example of that, where if you want to use the SkyDrive app, you can't just log into your account. You have to literally sign into the computer with your Microsoft account as the account. You can't use the local account. You literally can't even use a local account. And so there's a lot going on there that if you want to get the best Windows 8 experience, you're really going to want to have to log on, sign in, I guess is my.
That was your counsel to me when Windows Phone came out was, polish up your live account, get ready, because this is going to be how you log into the phone. Do you see, are they deprecating local accounts now? Is everything going to be your live account?
They are deprecating local accounts. They're still supported, of course, for backwards compatibility purposes, but they do allow you to switch them over. So if you do choose a local account, you can at any point change that to a Windows. I keep calling it Windows Live ID to a Microsoft account.
It is the Windows Live ID, but they're calling it Microsoft accounts now, right?
Yeah, they're switching the branding.
Okay. By the way, there were updates on my Windows 8 when I said. Oh no, that's 7. Never mind. I accidentally signed into 7.
They've delivered updates on Windows 8 already.
They have?
Okay. That security update that we just got. The monthly security update happened.
Good.
Anyway, there's a lot that goes on into this. And
use a live account or a Microsoft.
Yeah, and as with the Windows Phone book, we have a big chapter on all the stuff you want to do ahead of time to make sure that this thing is optimally set up. Because there's a lot of stuff you can go through that can go through your live account or your Microsoft account that will propagate out, like your Facebook account, your Facebook messaging stuff will go through messaging. And there's all this integration stuff that's happening under the covers.
It was very good advice to me.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And it's I mean, we'll see if some of this stuff changes. But for example, on Windows Phone, you can connect the Mail app to an IMAP Mail account or a POP3 account. In the Mail app in Windows 8, at least today, and that may change again, but it is only Exchange ActiveSync based accounts.
Wow.
They're taking a very hard stance on this. Cloud. The data belongs to the cloud, and this thing is just an endpoint. You can sync the data to here, but this is not where it's stored. So it's not like the old days where you might have a calendar app like Windows Calendar or a mail app like Outlook or whatever, where you would store that stuff on the PC, and that was where it was stored. And now it's up in the cloud, and you sync it down to the PC. It's a very different way of doing things.
We make a big deal about the tablet interface and reimagining the interface, but that's in some ways more significant. That it's not your local data, your local computer, your local account that matters anymore.
Right. And there was a lot of controversy. It's been less than 2 years, but when Windows Phone came out, there were a lot of people who were like, wait a minute. I can't sync this thing with Outlook? What are you talking about?
No, I like that, though.
And they took kind of a hard stance in Windows 8, Windows Phone, rather, but in Windows 8, and again, it could change a little bit. We'll see. But so far in Windows 8, it is very specifically like it's not working the way it used to. If you want to do the Outlook stuff, you can, but Outlook is like a traditional Windows application. If you want to use the new stuff, you got to have it up in the cloud.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But there's a lot of stuff that has not been publicized yet that really relies on that cloud connectivity and that central account. It all goes through your Microsoft account.
Right.
This would be the time to get that stuff ready.
Polish it up. If you haven't already done so for your Windows Phone, now's the time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Moving along to your software pick of the week.
Yeah, I don't recall if we talked about this last week or when it happened, but so sometime in the last week, Microsoft released the latest version of the Windows Phone SDK, version 7.1.1. This version has a couple of improvements over previous versions, but the big two are that it supports and has an emulator for those new low-end Tango devices that have only 256 megabytes of RAM, so you can test your applications against that kind of machine. And it also supports Windows 8 explicitly, although Microsoft isn't supporting it, of course, because Windows 8 is not released. But one of the issues with the CTP, and I think with the 7.1 release, was that the emulator would not run under Windows 8, and now everything works in Windows 8 fine. So if you're developing for mobile apps, I mean, I've said this before, but I really feel like this is the the single best mobile app development experience that's available on any platform. I just think it's amazing. And this maybe this could be the last version of this tool, by the way, at least in this form, because with Windows Phone 8, of course, they're switching to WinRT. So all the APIs are changing, and I know that the way that the emulator is surfed is going to change. And this thing's only been around for a couple of years, I guess, but it's always been fantastic. And obviously, this latest one is the best one yet.
Yay! Mary Jo Foley, our enterprise pick of the week.
Yes, the enterprise pick of the week is called Team Foundation Service, and what this is the cloud version of Team Foundation Server. And that product is Microsoft's source code repository management tracking tool. And, Microsoft has said publicly that they're bringing cloud versions of all their software out in time. So this is one of the first things from the developer division where they're making available a cloud version. And it was a Build, I think, where they released the tech preview of Team Foundation Service. But this week at Dev Connections, which was a show that Paul was at, there was a complimentary show called VS Live at the same time in Vegas, and they announced there that there's a build service now that's part of Team Foundation Service. So, just like you have a build server on premises, if you are managing and patching your build machines, this is the service complement. So Team Foundation Service is still a technical preview. They're continuing to add more features and functionality to it. They won't say when the beta is coming, and they won't say when the final is coming. Surprise. The Microsoft we now know with no dates on anything. But it is something that a number of people who like TFS are interested in. So it's out there now as a service, and anybody can download it. It's free. It's available in preview.
Cool.
Yep.
It's funny because in my world we always talk about Git and SVN and all of these kind of open source solutions. But I bet you probably more people use Team Foundation Service than those other services. It's Microsoft shops, right?
Yeah, and Microsoft's also now backing Git, which So they're
is that compatible with Git? Could you use Git as part of Team Foundation Service, or?
I don't know the answer to that. But I do know that this week they also announced they were open sourcing some more pieces of their ASP.NET technology, and they made a point when they talked about that of saying, and by the way, there's Git support for this. So
that's awesome.
Awesome. So they're getting on the Git bandwagon there. Yep.
Right on. I'm really glad to hear that. That's great. And your code name brings us to memories of Star Wars. Or Star Trek or something.
I know. That wasn't even intentional. Antares is the codename pick of the week. And so this is kind of interesting because it's not a city codename. Antares is the star in the Milky Way, the big red star, right? So maybe they're extending their city codename themes to the galaxy now. Maybe the world here isn't enough. But Antares is their web hosting platform, the next generation of it, that's going to run on Windows Azure, their cloud, and also on Windows Server on premises. So they haven't announced this yet, but I noticed it because somebody who was at their web hosting conference this week in Redmond dropped the code name, and then I started searching around for it, and I'm like, oh, there it is. Okay. So it's a web hosting framework. Microsoft already has something they call the Microsoft Web Platform, and I believe this is the successor to that. So the idea is you can use any language, including open source languages, open source stacks, and that you'll be able to host web applications on top of this framework, either on-prem or in the cloud. I don't know when they're going to announce this. I don't know when they're going to ship it, but the code name's out there, and they're definitely already in development on it, and they're talking to hosting providers about it. So I think we're probably pretty close to them dropping a test build of it out there.
So who would use this?
You could use it if you were a hosting company. If you
so you could offer this. We could offer the Antares platform.
Right. You could build on top of it.
Right.
Or if you're a software developer, you would want this platform to be where your apps were hosted, and where people could build web apps and host the web apps on top of this.
You mentioned in your column that Drupal, which we use, and WordPress are in the roadmap, but they're not part of Antares. So it would be on top of Azure. You could run Antares, or you could run Drupal, or you could run WordPress. Is that the?
I think it would be more like WordPress and Drupal are on top of Antares.
Oh,
so there would be like a middle.
So it's more middleware. Okay.
Right, more like middleware, yeah. As far as I know, again, it's kind of hard to read the tea leaves here because Microsoft's not ready to talk about it. So I'm just kind of going from job postings and leaks and all that. But that's where I think they're going with this.
Do they have anything comparable right now?
Yeah, they have the thing called the Microsoft Web Platform.
Oh, yeah,
that's what they call it.
Right.
And if this does all come together the way it is, it's one of the first things you'll see from Scott Guthrie, who used to be the big guy on Silverlight at Microsoft, who moved over to Windows Azure, and now he's building what they call the app platform for Windows Azure. So this is part of his.
This is their EC2. If I'm gonna,
I don't know if I would go there.
No.
Yeah. No, because Azure is really like their EC2, right? In
so it's
a way,
higher than that.
Yeah, it's like a framework on top of Azure.
Okay.
So I think your idea of middleware is a good way of looking at it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I hate to say it, but our Friday edition of this fabulous show has come to a close. Mary Jo Foley is the blogger in charge of All About Microsoft at Ziff Davis. And you could go to allaboutmicrosoft.com and read her regular postings. And I mean regular. She's a very busy person, writing all the time. It's must-read material for those of you who follow Microsoft, including, I would guess, probably most people inside of Microsoft. Paul Thurrott is the man at the SuperSite for Windows, winsupersite.com, also an analyst for Penton Media, where they just had their big party, Connections. Yeah, we're not going to say any more about that, are we? It's going to stay in Vegas.
I'm not embarrassed.
You keep telling yourself that. I'm not. You keep telling yourself that. He is also the author of the current Windows Phone Secrets and soon-to-be Windows 8 Secrets. He's working hard on that right now. Yep. In between Call of Duty rounds.
I haven't touched Call of Duty in a while, but
it's funny. We haven't heard much Call of Duty talk.
Yeah,
Paul has no time. No time for Call of Duty. We do this show normally 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursdays at twit.tv. Please tune in live. I follow the chat room, and is a great resource for us. And we will get back to chat room questions. We've got to, because I know that that's a great part of the show where we get to kind of talk to you. Maybe next week we'll do that when we're not pushed by time constraints, because we do have to get going for TNT. What else? You can get it if you miss the live broadcast. You can download it at twit.tv. We have audio and high-quality video versions available there or anywhere podcasts are offered, including iTunes, the Zoom Marketplace, and thereabouts. Paul, Mary Jo, thanks for being here. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time on Windows Weekly.